Hey, T-Boys, what's going on? Southern Cross, how are you, man? I figured I'd go live for an hour. I got everything I needed to do today. Finally done. Today's a long day of lessons. And this is my fourth today. It's either 3 or 4. I can't remember. I think it's 4. Oh, which one? Which one did you watch? I got a few more to do. I'll probably get some done over the weekend. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a fun one. Open E tuning. So it's played on a 12. He did it on a 12 string. I just do it when I do my gigs. I do it on a 6. But the 12 sounds nice. What else is going on, guys? Do you guys watch the shorts that I post? Seems like it's getting good amount of views and bringing people to my channel because for a while I was dropping off on my numbers and now it's starting to pick back up, which is cool. But another buddy of mine messaged me today. Well, my buddy Bob that was in the chat the other day. He messaged that I should also do some worst of, which I agree, but it's like, uh, some Richie Blackmore stuff, yeah. I agreed with him. I'm like, yeah, I'll be doing some, me putting up bad songs versus bad songs and bad albums versus bad albums. But there's so much stuff that I want to cover just because there's so much stuff I listen to. And I think in a perfect world, I would think that somebody would look up some of the records that I'm talking about and listen to them maybe for the first time. Like, I don't know how people are versed in Funkadelic, but I love those 2 records, Maggot Brain and Let's Take It to the Stage. There are some records that I don't care for them, but there are some other good ones. Cosmic Slop is a great record. And like America Eats Its Young, I don't care for so much. I mean, there's some good songs on it, but not a great record all the way through. But that's my point, is just, yeah, there's just so much stuff to pick from that I'm trying to bounce around all different genres and everything like that. Because at first I was just doing a bunch of hard rock stuff, and I'm like, well, but I also love, Funkadelic and soul music. I got an Earth, Wind, and Fire one coming up. Um, so I got to tell you, I'm very surprised that people commented that they like Fragile better than Close to the Edge. Because honestly, even though I did those 2 records, I could have done the Yes album, the one before Fragile, and put it up against Close to the Edge. Because I feel like Fragile and the Yes album are good albums. They're just not perfect albums, where Close to the Edge was a perfect record. I don't see how you could like either one of those two better than Close to the Edge. And I'm talking about like listening to them all three in a row, back to back, twice. You listen to it and you're just like, I just feel like Close to the Edge doesn't have like a dull spot, whereas the other ones, like somebody commented that they thought that South Side of the Sky was a great song. It's good for the first 3 minutes. I just feel like after 3 or 4 minutes into the song, it doesn't go anywhere. And why am I listening to it for 8 minutes? Hey, Charlie. You know what I mean? So that's like an important thing to me. It's like, well, the song's 8 minutes long and it's a 3 minute song. I mean, you could have the same argument for Thick as a Brick. I mean, the radio edit of Thick as a Brick, and as well as what's on the greatest hits, is like under 3 minutes. Thick as a Brick, the song is 43 minutes long. So you're basically saying, yeah, we could truncate this down 40 minutes, cut 40 minutes out, and we still have a good, but in reality, I would say that there's 10 minutes of a great song there. Because after the 3 minute mark, when it goes into see, I love that whole section. And, the greatest hits, and the radio always cuts that section out. I think that's still a good part of the song. To me, I would say you could cut the song after like 8 or 9 minutes, because now we're getting a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Laborious? Maybe laborious. It's just, it seems like it's more of the same. Like I said, even when you get to side two into part two, it's like, well, this is more of the same. But I think it's a good 7 minute song, not 43 minutes. Whereas Close to the Edge and You and I and Siberian Katra, I don't know how you would cut them down. I think they're, I might be able to take 2 minutes out. Well, I think if someone said to me, you have the daunting task to cut Close to the Edge down for radio, and I can't even recall how long the song actually is, but I think I could cut 5 or 6 minutes out that I feel wouldn't be terribly missed. But in the context of the album, I certainly enjoy those parts, like when it slows down and he's just going, I get up, I get down. When they do the slow down version, but I could understand if you wanted to chop that out, but I still feel that it's more necessary than the 5 minutes that I could cut out of an 8 minute South Side of the Sky. And what's the track before South Side of the Sky? We Have Heaven. That could be longer. I love that whole thing, and it's too short. But I feel like that could have gone on longer. And so could The Fish. I think everyone could have soloed. If Yes was a jazz band, The Fish would be a 10 minute song, and everyone would take a solo over that section. What that means, I don't know. Today I'm smoking Crowned Heads Las Calaveras. But I could be critiquing album against album. And you have to understand, sometimes I'm saying the better album is not my favorite album of this band. Yeah. Were you the one that said you loved it? Like I said, I like it. I just think that after 3 minutes, I've had enough of it. Like, it doesn't go anywhere after that. It would almost be like if they have We Have Heaven for 8 minutes and it never changed. I mean, I got it after 3 minutes. I just think maybe it could have gone an extra minute, done something else, added another part. Like, because on great songs like Starship Trooper, they go into all the different sections. Oh, no, it's good. Never Too Late. Too late. I'm going to do some of the mid-Queen section stuff. I know I did Queen 2 and Queen 3, and by no means when I'm putting these records up, unless I say that I think this is my favorite album by them, I'm just comparing albums, even though I think they're all, so if I say they're great, I think they're great. But like, um, I honestly, I don't know how you say Fragile is better than Close to the Edge. It doesn't make sense to me. And, or Tattoo You better than Emotion. Like, I can understand why someone thinks Tattoo You is Emotional Rescue because they don't listen to Emotional Rescue. But if you give it a listen, like a solid listen, a couple of times, you're going to be like, you know what? This is a much better record than I thought. It's a great, great album. In fact, I think it's more cohesive than Tattoo You, hence why I like it better. And again, on my channel and all these things that I'm posting, these are all just my opinions. I don't necessarily want people to sit there and say, oh, you're right, Chairman, you're right. But to say, if somebody were to say to me, like, let's say I hadn't listened to those records, those two Yes albums, and somebody said Fragile's a better album, I'm going back and listening to both records back to back again and giving it a listen and go, maybe I missed something. Maybe something's there that I didn't know. So that's kind of all I hope that people would do. And I understand you could, well, you grew up with Fragile, Deftones, all the way. I would say the Deftones White Pony over anything Modest Mouse did. I hated it. I hated it. It's just, I don't like the 80s Yes, except for Drama. I did like Drama. I mean, there were some good songs. Leave It was good. What else is on that record? Cinema. What's the one that Change? Boom, 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 boom. But my point was, necessarily what I think is a better album doesn't mean it's my favorite album. And that's a concept that I think a lot of people wrestle with. And I'll give you an example. If you told me that Yes, Fragile's your favorite album of Yes's, but you think that Close to the Edge is a better album, I understand that completely. I can understand that. If I were to put up, and I'm not going to, if I were to put up Steely Dan Asia versus Steely Dan Royal Scam, I will tell you right out, Asia's a better album. But the Royal Scam's my favorite. And if I had to go on an island, I would have to really think long and hard about which one I would take. Do I take my favorite or do I take Perfect? Yeah, I mean, in the little short, I mean, everything I do I do it under 60 seconds. So I'm trying to, in that time, like Kiss Dressed to Kill versus Kiss. I would tell you right now, more days than not, I'd rather listen to the first album. And I'd say this, 7 out of 10 times, I'll choose the first album to listen to over Dressed to Kill. But when I listen to them back to back, twice, I basically was like, as much as I love the first album, I think Dressed to Kill is a better example of this. And I'll tell you where my issues lay. First of all, I think Let It Go is completely underrated on the first album. And I think 100,000 Years, those two songs might be the only two songs that are recorded at a tempo that I'm happy with. Everything else, Firehouse, Strutter, everything else is really slow and draggy. And the better version of those songs is on Alive, but they were recorded too slow. And so it sounds like it's slow. It just there's something about the sound that bothers me when I hear, like, you know, I know a thing or two about her. It's like, why is this so draggy? That kind of, and I honestly, I think a lot of the second album, Hotter Than Hell, is like that too. Dressed to Kill I feel is much better energy. Rock and Roll All Night is perfect tempo. Love Her All I Can, the tempo's great. Uh, she, yeah, everything I think on that record, the tempo feels right. It feels more alive. It feels like it's got excitement. The first two albums, the recordings are bad, and the vibe is slow motion for me. It just feels draggy. Like, could you imagine going to see Kiss live and they come out and they're like, I know a thing or two about her. It's like, what? You listen to Strutter on Kiss Alive, it's fantastic. And it's like, man, if that first record had that just the tempo alone, forget about the recording, that album would be a hell of a lot better. Just my opinions. So, no, I Stole Your Love is on Love Gun. Yep, he's right, Love Gun. Yep. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Yeah, it's on Love Gun for sure. I'll tell you right now, I'm thinking about doing all three Kiss records from Destroyer to Love Gun. Spoiler alert, Destroyer's in last place. It sucks. And we're just talking about the shorts that I do on YouTube, and I do it on TikTok. I put it everywhere. I also think I don't know why it says I'm live again. Maybe I lost signal. Let me get rid of the internet. Hold on. All right. All right. I'm back. Rock and Roll Over by far is the best. And where they screwed up on Kiss Alive 2, they shouldn't have had side 2. You could have put Take Me, Almost Human, Sweet Pain. Those all should be on there. And I'll tell you what I think stinks about Kiss Alive. Kiss Alive, they should have made 100,000 years. I don't need to hear a drum solo from Peter Criss. I'm sorry, Peter. I just don't need to hear your drum solo. Put another song in there. Give me Love Her All I Can, and get rid of Let Me Go, Rock and Roll, and put Let Me Know from the first album. That would have been a much better live album for me. I love 100,000 Years. I just don't need to hear a 10-minute version of it. Flange? Oh, over the drum solo, you mean? Yeah, I'm not the biggest Eddie Kramer fan. I'll give you that. And he, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys watch. Do you guys watch Jim Lill videos? He just did a video about consoles, the Neve console, and about the magic of Neve consoles. And I've been calling bullshit on all that stuff for years. People always sit there and say like, "Oh man, you got to have this mic pre, or you got to have this," and I'm always like, "No, you don't. Just have to have ears, because you got to EQ everything anyways at the end." Well, Jim Lill put out this great video, and I used to have this argument in my band. The guy that plays percussion and the other guy both have their own mixing board, and we used to use the singer's mixing board, and then yeah, it's definitely better. Um, And then my percussionist used to bring in his mixing board and argue that his was discreet. Why he used to make, he spent a lot of money on an Allen and Heath and makes a big stink about how great it was. And I told both of them, I think they both stink. And I think they stink because none of it matters when we're playing except for the effects. And I think the built-in effects on both those guys' units sounded bad to me, or at least how they had it set up. And I don't own their board, so I don't mess with it. But so I brought in my board for a gig, and mine's a Behringer. And the reason I got the Behringer is the effects sound great. The other shit don't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Anyways, after we did the first gig with my board, like 3 people from the crowd came up and said, dude, this is the best you guys sounded. And so we've been using that board ever since. But again, it's just the effects that sound the best. It had the best sounding reverb / delay that was clear, clean, and that's all that mattered. But all that stuff about, oh, this one's got discrete this, and it's got like, it's all nonsense. Watch the Jim Lill video, Jimlill, I believe is how he spells it. Watch that video, it's effing great. He did a ton of work and proved a point that I've been spewing for a long time. He's made a lot of my points because he did the Tonewood bullshit and he did microphones, and it's just, it's crazy. At the end of the day, what matters is not the gear. It's who's playing the gear and who has ears that's mixing and listening to it and recording it. That's what makes a great sounding record. I've had my Behringer now maybe 10 years. It hasn't failed me yet. It sounds awesome. It's great. I have no complaints. And if it broke down after 10 years, I think I paid $250 for it, I'd buy it again. It's great. It's great. But what matters is the person who's behind the mixing, the guy who can EQ everything, and the person that does the mic placement, and then the performance. That's it. Because you could listen to Kiss Dressed to Kill, or you could listen to you could say that Destroyer is a better recorded album than the first album, and it's probably all the same gear. Probably, some Neve console at some studio. It doesn't matter. It's who's behind the board, and I don't think Ezrin was behind the board. I think he has a guy. I mean, obviously, if you listen to the stuff he does with Kiss, and then you listen to Pink Floyd The Wall, I can tell you right now that Pink Floyd The Wall sounds so great, has little to do with Bob Ezrin and a lot to do with James Guthrie. Because all you got to do is go listen to the final cut that James Guthrie engineered and produced, and you're like, yeah, it's the same. That's the guy. There's the sound. I'm not an Ezrin fan. Let me be clear. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by clean. I don't know what that means. Like I said, if you're recording, watch the Jim Lill video. You'll see exactly what I'm saying. I can't explain it to you, but what matters is the guy's ears that's recording it and the performer. Those two things. Yeah, I mean, if you say clean, yeah, if someone has a bad cable, yeah, I get it. Or if someone, I have a buddy of mine, he worked with Terry Date, And I said, how was working with Terry Date? And he was like, it was cool, and the end product was awesome. But when Terry Date walked in, he changed everything on the on his amplifier and changed the tone because he knew he's like, that's going to record better. And that's what I'm talking about. Knowing that and knowing, what you're dealing with. Because I think Terry Date is awesome. And this is going to be an unpopular statement. I don't like the sound of Pantera's records. But I think that's the best that you can get out of it with what they use for gear. The drummer always sounds great, and Terry always records great drums, but I am just not a fan of that ridiculously thin, overly compressed guitar tone that he gets out of that amp. And I don't know how you can fix it because it's coming out of the amp. I don't know what that is. I don't know. He did Bad Motorfinger for Soundgarden. He did the Deftones, I think all the Deftones records. I mean, listen how great the drums sound on White Pony. I think the production on that is like pristine. I think that's one of the best heavy rock sounding albums. I mean, the production on Digital Bath is just awesome. Yeah. Yeah, he's just awesome. The guy's great. Again, so look, we're looking at Terry Date and we're talking about his ears and the people performing. And he gets the best out of both. And obviously, in my opinion, that the Deftones are way more sonically mature than Pantera. Now, don't even start getting me wrong that I don't like Pantera. I love it. When I'm in the gym and I'm sitting there, Revolution Is My Name, or all that stuff, everything, I love it all. Cowboys from Hell, Cemetery Gates, what's the one? Oh, what the hell's that called? Yeah, you say that as a positive. I say that as a negative. For sure. And I love them. But if you sit there and say to me, I could pick the production and the guitar tone of 5 heavy metal albums, Pantera wouldn't be in my top 5. A lack of space? I'd call it gear related. It's the guitar sound is overly distorted. And when you distort something, and the more you clip, the more you compress, and you can't get a fat sound from that thin sound. It just can't happen. It won't cut. And, you listen to like, you want to hear a great guitar tone, listen to Corrosion of Conformity, Blind. That guitar tone, that's menacing. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm telling you, it's not my thing. And if you ask me what I think of Dime, he's awesome. Guy's a great player. Doesn't matter. The tone is not great. It's too thin. It's too compressed. I just don't like it. It's thin. It thins it out. If you listen to like 70s hard rock stuff, the sound is so much bigger. When you hear Jimmy Page play, man, it sounds like a wall of sound. And it's not that distorted. It's got distortion on it, but it's not as crazy over the top. Even Judas Priest, when you listen to like those three albums in the 80s, well, especially the first two in the 80s, British Steel, and you listen to Point of Entry, it's not very distorted. Blue Oyster Cult sounds different song to song. I listened to an album the other day. I don't know any. I met Michael Sweet a couple of weeks ago, and I even said to him, I didn't grow up knowing your stuff. I didn't know any of this type of stuff. It was a band that I didn't listen to. By the time they came around the forefront, I had moved on to a much more LA jazz sound. I was big into Gino Vanelli, Steely Dan, and Toto. I was trying to expand my vocabulary on the guitar. And even before that, I had, because when I grew up playing guitar, like Michael Schenker from MSG, Matthias Jabs for the Scorpions on like Blackout, and Glenn Tipton for sure. These are guys that I was, getting and Yngwie, getting all my metal chops from. And then I heard stuff like Johnny Marr from the Smiths, and I heard The Cure, and I was like, well, what the hell is this? This is, and Cocteau Twins, and all this jangly guitar stuff and ethereals, and I was like, oh, I gotta figure some of this stuff out. And then after that, about a year or two of that, so at that point I had really stopped listening because that was when hair bands were in full swing and I could give two shits. I did not care for the guys that wanted to be Eddie Van Halen. That did not interest me. And I love Eddie. I love Duran Duran. I didn't like him. I loved him. Yeah, I mean, fucking Gino's awesome. But then I got into, then I heard Steely Dan. I got the Royal Scam. I started getting into Gino, and I wanted to learn some jazz vocabulary. And at the same time, I got into some country players. So I was trying to be rounded. And then by this time, we're getting into like 92, 93. I'm starting to get back into metal. Because 24/7 Spies, Soundgarden, and Corrosion of Conformity. And this was much more of like a Sabbathy metal that I loved. Came back. And so that's where like Pantera and a lot of these other I think Duran Duran was a much better band than INXS. I think Kick, what was that, 1987? Kick was a fantastic album. There's a couple of great songs on Listen Like Thieves and on Shabu Shab. In fact, I got to tell you, I think I like Midnight Oil better than INXS. I like that Countdown album, the 1098 album. That was great. And Diesel and Dust was great. And Blue Sky Mine was great. Those records didn't really make me want to jump out and grab my guitar, though. Like when I heard This Charming Man by the Smiths, I was like, what the hell is he doing here? This I got to learn. Or like even just some of the Cocteau Twins stuff where he's playing. Yeah, I don't know if I would say they were terrific. I did like Kick a lot. The After Kick, what was that? The album with Suicide Blonde, that I hated. That I absolutely hated. Love Oingo Boingo. I'm going to do a comparison of the first three Oingo Boingo albums soon. Now, that's probably the guy that took me away from the metal players. I said Johnny Marr, but I may have misspoke. Steve Bartek from Oingo Boingo initially pulled me into that genre. The stuff he plays on those first three Boingo records is so cartoonish and just great. I like the Thompson Twins. But I'll tell you what's funny, as I'm listening to Oingo Boingo the other day, I listened to the first three albums, Only a Lad, Nothing to Fear, and Who Do You Want to Be? Because I'm going to do a comparison of the three albums. And I found it funny on the first album, their cover of You Really Got Me had this run in it that's really, I mean, literally, he used it in the Simpsons theme. The part when it goes, I think it's when right before they show Lisa and they do that run, they do the exact thing in You Really Got Me on the first Boingo album. And then in the song Nasty Habits, the whole song is the Simpsons. It's bum 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 bum. It's almost the exact same song. I'm like, well, I can tell you right now, when he came up to draw the theme to that thing, he used those two parts from the first album. The little line section in You Really Got Me and the main section to Nasty Habits. I thought it was hilarious. I'm listening to it going, when I listened, obviously when I was a huge Boingo fan back in the day, before The Simpsons, it never hit me. And I hadn't gone back to the first album. I mean, songs on the first album I love was like On the Outside, Capitalism. How true does capitalism still ring? It's so amazing. Those two songs are like the two I always go back to from the first album. My favorite song on the first three albums is probably the opening track to Nothing to Fear, which was Gray Matter. I think Gray Matter is awesome. And when I saw them live twice, I thought that was the highlight of the live show, was Gray Matter. Yeah, Weird Science is 1985 on the Dead Man's Party album, and I think that might be their best album. It's a great album, but Gray Matter on the early stuff is I don't want to say it's less sonically good and more ambitious, I would say. It's definitely more ambitious. There's more ska. And I'm forgetting what album Little Guns is on. I think it's on Who Do You Want to Be? I love Little Guns because it has that sax solo that's very similar to One Step Beyond by Madness. And I love the ska thing. And then, so there are three albums there. And then a lot of people don't realize that the first Oingo Boingo album that's on MCA is actually called Danny Elfman Solo. And the reason they called it Danny Elfman and not Oingo Boingo was just because that the name, they couldn't use the name because technically they were still under contract with IRS Records. But it's technically the first Oingo Boingo album not on IRS, on MCA. And it's a great record. I love that album. In fact, The Last Time is one of my favorites, but you can hear the sonic change in the band. And I think that's the album they switched keyboard players and bass players, right? Because I don't think John Avila was the original bass player. I think he comes in on Danny Elfman Solo. And Richard Gibbs, the keyboard player, who later did the scoring of The Simpsons, he did the cuts, the cues during the show. He left too, I think, in 84, 83. Right after, I think it's that album, before Danny Elfman Solo, which is, once again, I'll say it, it's an Oingo Boingo album. And I have met Steve Bartek a few times. And I love him. I just think he's a fantastic, underrated guitar player that I would call an influence on me to really he just had, He was great. He was great. I will say this. Hey now, Jan, what's happening? Oh yeah, I forget his name, the Scandal guitar player. Um, Going back, listening to the first three Oingo Boingo albums, I will say this. I remember them being a lot, I loved them a lot more than going back and listening to them again. And now I'm starting to hear like a few of the tracks. I'm like, I could fast forward through this one. This I don't miss. Um, like Wake Up, it's 1984. That song bores me now. And back in the day when I was listening to that record, I liked it a lot. I'll tell you what I like a lot too around that same time was 1985, I think. No, 86. Fishbone's first full record, the In Your Face. I mean, that's a great, great record. And everyone talks about Fishbone, Truth and Soul. And Truth and Soul, I think, is a great record. I just think In Your Face is overlooked. You know, it's one of those things where if somebody asked me if I had to go back and listen, I would probably come to the conclusion that Truth and Soul is a better album. But I would tell you that In Your Face is easily my favorite. I thought that was a great record. And I also think the one that, wait, did Terry Date produce? No, I don't think he produced Truth, The Reality of My Surroundings, but I think he did the album after, which there is some great Lemon Meringue. What is that album called? Give a Monkey a Brain. I think there's some great production on that. I just don't think the songs are that good on that album. Ian Crichton, who is he? Do I have any thoughts on him? I've never had a thought on him yet, but I might if you tell me who he is. Wait a second. Is he the guy in Saga? Is that the guy's name who plays guitar in Saga? Guitarist from Saga. What do I think of him? I think he's effing phenomenal. Jesus, the guy's great. He's an underrated, awesome player. I was a Jay Giles fan years before them with Peter. Oh, okay. So obviously, I'm from the Boston area. People say to me all the time, "Can you say pack the car in Harvard Yard?" And I look at them and go, "What are you, retarded?" That's a Steve Sweeney joke. Anyways, as much as I like Jay Giles' Sanctuary and Love Stinks album, as much as I love those albums, Peter Wolf's voice, to me, is terrible. And all I have to do is tell you to listen to the song Teresa by Jay Giles on Sanctuary, and it is awful. That vocal performance, how they don't call me up and ask me to take it in Pro Tools and auto and fix the tuning. I'll do it with Melodyne. His pitch is so bad on that song, and they released it and put it on the record. I was driving home one night listening to it, and listening to him sing, and I'm like, I'm a horrible singer, and I could have done a better job than this. It is so bad. And then like in the harmonies, like people are harmonizing, he's just out of tune. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Now, Ian Crichton, isn't his brother also in Saga? Doesn't he have a brother in the band too? But that guitar, all you got to do is, like I tell anybody, if you think Saga's a joke, play the guitar parts on the loose. Just that. I mean, he's a monster. Great player. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I thought his brother was in the band. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm glad. If there's some song you want to learn, let me know. If I like it, I'll teach it. If I think it's useless, I won't. But let me just see what he wrote here. Fraser Smith, a comedian, plays nothing but a party every Sunday night by Jay Giles. Yeah, that song's called House Party. Well, well, ba-da-dow. It ain't nothing but a party, nothing but a house party. Ba-ba-ow. Yeah. When I first came back to Boston, I did a gig with Danny Klein. He was playing, like, he had a band called Danny Klein's Full House where they did all the old oh, I was gonna do Holy Diver, Joe, versus The Last in Line. Me and RL were discussing that one. Holy Diver versus the first Ozzy album. Alex Harvey Band. You got to tell me what they did. The name sounds familiar. It's like the Michael Stanley Band. I'm going to say Blizzard of Oz wins. I have issues with Holy Diver. I love them both too, Joe, and I think Holy Diver beats Last in Line. I agree with you. The issue I have with Holy Diver has to do with guitar tone. I don't love it. And I think the tone was better on Last in Line, but Holy Diver is a better album. Mm. Oh, for sure. For sure. I love Scottish bands. I'm a big Cocteau Twins fan. I'm a big Blue Nile fan. I haven't done Morning yet. I thought I did that one, Jan. If I didn't do it, I tell you right now, I've already listened to it and figured it out. I just haven't done the lesson on it yet, but you just reminded me. Moaning Sister. Uh, and there's a weird interchange in the bridge, I remember. But everything was doable on an acoustic. There's also, recently it just came out, Jay Graydon has a video where he talks about playing the parts on that song. I'll check it out. I like the old Grey Whistle. Oh, well, Sade's band is all about space and vibe. They are awesome. In fact, one of my favorite records to put on late at night and go to bed is an album by Sade's band where every song is a guest singer. And the album is called Sweetback. Maxwell sings a song on it, but it's awesome. And that band is nothing but a good vibe. Like, that is like, they know what they're doing. I mean, Love Deluxe to me is her best record. Yeah, I mean, it's just awesome, and they understand vibe. You know, I would say besides Sade, to get Peter Gabriel, I would say after from So On, when he got involved with what's the producer's name on that? Daniel Lanois. Daniel Lanois really interjected vibe to Peter Gabriel's sound, and what great production. I mean, because you listen to like the album before, So, what is that called? Security? And the production stinks. It sounds muffled like Kiss's Hotter Than Hell album. But you listen to So, and there's such great space. He did that also for Robbie Robertson's first solo album. And I also think Pierre Marchand, who produces all the Sarah McLachlan records, you listen to a record like Afterglow, and you really hear what a genius he is at production and just setting the space and the vibe. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you because I think when Lenoir first got a hold of U2, I thought that the Unforgettable Fire, everything up from Unforgettable Fire to Octung Baby was great. I hate the live record there. What's that record called? Rattle and Hum. That's awful. But I do like the 3 studio records, the first 3. After that, it's like they became a pop band and they wanted pop band money. And I got no time for that. But if you want to say like, see, there's a great thing, a great discussion because Unforgettable Fire is really such a great record. But is it the U2 like of what the band really is, which is what War was the final culmination of? War to me is like a perfect record of 4 Irish guys getting together and doing that thing, not being influenced by the Canadian Daniel Lanois, the British Brian. Is Brian Eno British? Maybe he isn't. I don't know. Or Steve Lilly. Like they became more influenced by the production, whereas I think War is such a great record. I don't know it. I don't know who Joe Pickett is. Yes. I try to do it a couple of nights a week. I sit and smoke a cigar and shoot the shit. Shoot the breeze. Um, Trying to think. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. So, anyways, Pierre Marchand is my third producer that I would say has that ear for that vibe. You know, that Sade. I don't know who produced Sade's records, but it's great. I mean, like Ordinary Love is just that's a great vibe. No, I don't know it. I like Empty Glass. In a lesson today, we were going over Rough Boys and Gonna Get You off of Empty Glass. I'm not a huge Townsend fan. I like him, but I don't love him. An album that made me pick up my guitar was One Headlight in Sixth Avenue. What's that, the Wallflowers? So you haven't been playing that long then. She said it's cold, feels like a... Well, I think The Who definitely got a lot of people playing guitar. It's definitely much more of a mod thing. And I would say when I say that, it's much more simplistic. It's not like Led Zeppelin or something that's um, yeah, I mean, I'll just leave it at that. I don't think Townsend had nice things to say about Led Zeppelin, and playing for the one. Explain what playing for the one means. I'm not sure I know what you mean by playing for the one. The downbeat? The downbeat of one? Okay. I don't know how the Who would do it. I mean, every band's pretty much nailing the downbeat unless there's a push, but I mean, the James Brown thing. You got me. I don't know. Because I teach for so long and also growing up playing guitar, I think most beginner to intermediate guitar players struggle with landing on the one or finding the one, where I say, where the fuck is one? What are you playing? And mainly because I think they get to beat four and they rush out of there. And it's not like they rush out of there in time, like on a push, but they get out of there early and just start. But I don't know that the Who would be the cure for that, or I don't know what the James Brown thing is, because that's funk. And King Crimson's awesome. Did I post my King Crimson yet? Oh, that comes up either tomorrow or the next day. I did a King Crimson 1-minute video. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because you get guys on YouTube teaching, you get guys that are telling you about gear and they can't find the one. A syncopation thing for me, okay? Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah, I bet. I played with so many people where if there's a struggle on a time, I always tell them they should count. And I don't know why so many guitar players, drummers, yeah, I gig regularly, yeah. Yeah. At least twice a week. And I don't know why people are so against counting. And some people who went to music school, how they don't know how to count time. I mean, as simple as something like, I used to host a jam. People love playing Whipping Post. Some people don't understand the intro to the song or the timing of that intro in the song that is in 11/8. Now, if somebody says to you, we're playing it in 11/8, that should not be tough to figure out. It's simple. 11/8 is cut time from 12/8. 12/8 is 4/4. So why 11? Well, it means we're playing triplets over each downbeat, over each beat. So we got 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. That's your count. That's 12/8. So 11/8 is you just cut out the last three. So it's 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2. There's your 11/8. Count it. Easier to count, man. Then, after you play it for a while, you don't have to count. You can feel it. You know it. You've done it enough. But you got to, at one point, to get it, you got to count it. And, you know, I think I did a video about tough times that I saw a meme. And there's a video on my channel where I saw this meme and it said, these times are tough. And it was like 13/8. It gave all the times. And then I did a video going, here's how you count all three of these times, and they're not tough. They're not tough at all. They're simple. But people don't take the time to stop or teach it properly. And, you know, it's one of the reasons I started a channel. Was to just explain some of the music knowledge that I knew, being a self-taught guy that looks at music a lot different than schooled musicians. And currently I teach a few guys that are Berklee guys that graduated. They've graduated music school and don't understand some of the simpler concepts. And I don't know why. I can't explain it to them, but the way they taught it in school was what took me away from going to formal training, because I didn't see it that way when I was a kid. I was like, nah, it doesn't make sense to me. You know, and then there's a great video if you want to watch Alan Holdsworth explaining how he looks at stuff, because how he looks at certain things is similar to and by no means is it close to how I look at it, but there are some similarities. And he has his own language, you know, like he's got, like, if a song's minor with a natural 6, he calls that an X scale. If it's a melodic minor, he has an X with a circle. So it's just all mental stuff that I wouldn't even get involved in. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't even play Holdsworth chords. It's insane. But what I'm saying is though the way he looks at music is a simplified version that makes more sense than the way they teach music. You know, like, you could look at a C major scale. It has no sharps and no flats. So automatically we know that on a piano, it would be all the white notes, but we have everything's a natural note, right? We have C, D, E, F, G, A, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Well, there's 7 chords that have all of these notes, right? You can start it in C, and you have a C major 13. You can go to the second chord, we have a D minor 13. Well, the thing about the thing about that scale is, and what makes that scale difficult and why Holdsworth has no problem with it, is because Holdsworth doesn't look at it like that. No, I don't know what the new standard. You mean fourths? What's the new standard? Standard is standard. What's the new standard? I never heard that. Are you talking about tuning in fourths? Holdsworth looks at everything. Oh, yeah, no, I got no interest in that. Holdsworth looks at everything as a minor. So if you looked at Barry Harris's scale, Holdsworth looks at that not as a diminished sixth scale. Let's take the C major Barry Harris scale, right? We have C, D, E, F, G, A flat, A, B, 8 notes, right? Holdsworth sees that as 2 scales. He sees that as A harmonic minor, and he sees that as, what's the other one? You could just look at it as A minor, regular A minor. So if you apply both regular A minor and A harmonic minor, you get the same scale. So he's using both scales, and you can see it in like some of his charts. He'll write down 2 scales. And, Holdsworth has crazy ways of, yeah, totally. Just tell me the key. I can do all the rest. Yeah. You don't need modes. Because modes don't mean anything except for like where modally the song is, right? So if we take like let's say we take a progression of D minor, C to G, right? In that progression, we are playing in the key of C. We're centered on the 2. So you could say that progression is D minor Dorian. So does that mean I have to play my solo and start on the 2? No, I don't have to start on D. I can start on any note I want. It's all natural notes. What do I care? Just tell me the key. That's the key of C. It's everything else is irrelevant. I can come up with my own melody. Now, the other thing is, so when I get to the D minor, let's say I'm playing the D minor and I want to play outside, well, then I can apply other principles to it, which I would do. Whereas if I wanted to play outside over that D minor, I would play a D melodic minor and concentrate on the 6 and 7 of the triads, which would be 2 diminished triads to play over it. Gives you a really crazy outside jazz sound. But really, I'm just applying another principle over that chord. It doesn't matter. There's no way someone's going to sit there and tell me, like, modes aren't going to get me there. It's not going to get you there. And I just don't like the whole, people try to memorize the modes. And so what's important about the modes, and not really the modes, is just understanding the major scale. So if you have a major scale and you know we're in C major, well, then we know that everything is relative. It's just a straight 1 to 7. So I can just play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. But if we start on the 4, then you have to know that the 4 is going to be sharp. So if I start on F instead of a B flat, like in the F major scale, that B is going to be natural. So it's F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And so you could think of, there are 3 major scales in every scale. There's the natural scale, which is the 1. There's the 4 scale, which is a sharp 4. And there's the 5 scale, which is a flat 7. So that means if you're playing G, that F is going to be natural, which is the 7. So we know that it's flatted from the major 7, which would be an F sharp. So that's all you have to know. Major, normal, sharp 4, flat 7. 3 major scales, that's it. Do you have to know them? No. Over time, eventually, if you're just playing to the key, you would figure it out. Wayne Krantz is 100% right. If you fuck up, do it again, it means you did it on purpose. I don't know. I don't know. But if you would like to take a song like Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, the whole song is F to G, right? So that tells you we're on the 4 and 5 chord. Anytime there's 2 major chords next to each other, they're the 4 and 5. So that tells you you're in the key of C. So that means if you wanted to solo, all you got to do is solo in A minor, because that's the same as F as the 4. Easy just to go to the minor. That's how I think of things. Easy to go to the minor. It's the same key. I play everything like minor. Guitar is meant that way. It's easier. It feels good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, modes, they're highly unnecessary. And I understand why they say 12 notes and then 24, but not really. It's the same 12 notes. You're just going up. So like, if you're playing if you have a major chord, C, E, G, and you put a D in there, even though that D might be on the two, it might be low next to the C, you still call it a nine because there's a three in the chord, therefore it goes to the nine. So you would call that a C add nine. So now you're in the next set of 12 notes, but technically it's not 12. It's just, I mean, not 24. You're just looking at the same notes. They just repeat, but it's where you put them against the scale, if that makes any sense to you. Well, I guess the nine would still be in 12, right? No, it's not, because it would be whatever, but diatonically it's a nine. Yeah, like the thing is, when you talk about modes to a guitar player, you mention a mode, like if I said, we're going to play in D Phrygian dominant, most guitar players are going to go like this and look around and try to figure out what it is, and it would be just so much easier if you just say to them, it's in G harmonic minor, we're centering on the D. Okay. I'm in G harmonic minor and D is my tonal center. Let the good times roll. But to sit there and say, we're going to play in D Phrygian dominant, retarded. Not my cup of tea. That's not how I would discuss it. And the thing about music theory and everything has more to do with how you communicate to the musicians more than being right. So, for instance, I'll call a chord an 11, where a jazz guy will call it a 9 sus. But the reason I call it an 11 is because I want somebody to know that this chord is going to end and we're going to go to the 1. Whereas if I tell somebody a 9 sus, as the player reading the chart, I'm looking for the next chord to be the 9 without the sus, like you would in What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, right? It goes to the B9 sus, back to the B9, B9 sus, back to the B9. However, later it goes to the same exact chord, and when it goes to that chord, it's going to resolve to E major 7. So on a chart, I would write that is a B11. That's what I would do. And because literally I'm communicating to somebody that's reading a chart, so they can anticipate what the next chord's going to be as they're reading it, or they can actually see it ahead of time and go, okay, I got a dominant, I got to resolve, as opposed to I got a dominant sus, and then I got a dominant, just the dominant 9 or whatever, but it's the same thing. It's really just communicating. And it was funny because when I was producing a country record and working with Matt Rawlings on piano, I have my own way of speaking about certain things. And he would look at me with a blank face and I would just start laughing. And I would say, and I would describe a song that I knew he played on. And I said, what would you call your playing there? So we had this one song and I wanted him to play this beautiful jazz stuff on top of it, but really like just outlining the chords. And he did it on so many great songs. And I call that playing, to me, I call it flowery. I'm like, because it's like, and it's just how I hear it and the word that I always use for it. And I said to him, can you play flowery? And he looked at me and goes, what the hell are you? And I'm just laughing. I'm like, yeah. And so I said, listen, in North Dakota, in the very beginning of the song, you play this piano intro. What would you call that? He goes, you want eclectic. I said, okay, give me eclectic. And then he laid down the track and I didn't have to say a word. And that first take was good enough. I'm like, that's exactly what you took every note out of my brain and played it on that piano. It was perfect. Then we got to another song, and I told him I want him to play like a saloon player. And so he started playing. He stops in the middle and goes, I'm not playing what you want. I go, how do you know? He goes, I'm looking at your face. I said, it's not. So I described the song. I said, there's a Steve Wariner song called Love, Love. And he goes, does Steve scat the solo? I said, yes. He goes, that was me on piano. He goes, you don't want a saloon. You want old-timey. Which to me sounds like it would be in a saloon. I said, okay, give me old-timey. Fucking nailed it right after the take. So again, it just comes down to communicating with the player and getting out of them what you want, and there was never any, with Matt's a genius, and there's never any musical question, technical stuff. He can look at a chart and just be like, all right, I'm ready. And you tell him how you want the vibe to be, and he just fucking nails it. But I had to learn his language of what the vibe should be, of like what he calls each vibe, because to me, I would have a different name for it. And so there's that. And the other thing is always keep your count low. You don't need to go past 3. Keep everything low. Keep your count low. So when you're counting, like if you're doing a 6/8, that's 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Keep it low. Much easier to count that way, easy to get through life. Just becomes easy. So those are the 4 majors. The 3 majors, right? You got the major, you got the sharp 4 scale, and you got the flat 7 scale. And again, if we're looking at one key, the key of C, it's still the same 7 notes. Minors is a little different. You've got what I would call 4 important minors. And the 3 minor, which would be the Phrygian mode, I would say you could throw it out. You're never going to use it. You never need it. But the 4 minors would be your natural minor, which is now the fact that I say it's minor, you should automatically assume in your brain the 3 is flat. That automatically comes to your mind. So natural minor, the 3 is flat, the 6 and 7 is flat. Harmonic minor, the 3 is flat, the 6 is flat. The 2 minor or Dorian minor, the 3 is flat, the 7 is flat. And melodic minor, the 3 is flat. You don't have to, 6 and 7 is natural. So really all we're doing in minors is changing the relationship of 6 and 7s. That's it. And that's all you need to know for minor. That's all 4 minor scales that you're ever going to play. Melodic you're going to use in jazz. Harmonic you can use in, if you're going to play anything by Yngwie, I'm sure you're going to use a harmonic minor scale. And then you got the 2 main ones, the natural minor and the natural 6 minor, which again, you can call it the Dorian. I always refer to it as the 2 minor, because if you're in the key of C, it would be starting on D, which is the 2 in the scale. So that's the 2 minor, which has a natural 6 and a flat 7. Easy peasy. That also means that if you need to play a melodic minor scale, all you got to do is play a major and put a flat 3rd on it. You don't have to think about it. So if I say to you, I want you to play a melodic minor, we know it's a flat 3rd and 6 and 7 are natural, so they don't change. So you have 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. Easy. You're not going to the minor scale and then raising the 6 and the 7, because you're not raising the 6 and 7, you're not affecting it. It's a melodic minor. There's a natural 6 and 7. And I'm talking about in the jazz and rock context, not the classical context of going up with a natural 6 and 7 and coming down with a flat 6 and 7. Because other than classical music, that is absolutely useless. Because really, you're going to use the melodic minor against a dominant chord. So if you're playing a blues and you're playing E, an E7, before you get back to the A chord, if you're on the 5 chord, so you're in A blues and you're on an E7, over that, and you could just look this up on YouTube, go find an E7 backing track and just play F melodic minor over it, but center it on the E. And you will basically feel the whole jazz scene. That's the beginning of jazz vocabulary, in my opinion. Playing the melodic minor over the 7. You see Larry Carlton do that. You see Robin Ford does it a lot. It's very, very common in what I would call fusion rock jazz. When you play the 5 chord, you play the melodic minor a half step up. So if you're on E7, F melodic minor. And why it works is because if you start on the 7, which would be the E in the F melodic minor scale, you can think of that as the 1. The F becomes the flat 9, the G becomes the sharp 9. The A flat is now a G sharp, it becomes the major 3rd. We have a flat 5, a sharp 5, and a flat 7. And there's your altered scale, exactly. But, you know, when you say altered to people, they get all flustered. They're like, and they try to remember, what's the altered scale again? I know it's a mode, because the altered, it's the 7th mode of the melodic minor scale, and people will call it the superlocrian, or they'll call it altered. And in reality, it's the easiest thing in the world when you just say it's melodic minor. Now I'm not thinking anymore, I'm just playing. Just makes it easy. I'm playing an F major scale with a flat 3rd. So that's kind of like what I think that demystifies playing. Now I know I'm going way ahead of the curve here and jumping way ahead, but I'm just explaining that it's not as difficult as you would think it is when you watch some of these guys play and what they're doing. Another common scale over the dominant chord too is like a double diminished, which is the 2nd mode of the diminished scale, which really is just the half whole scale. But it's called double diminished because if you're playing, like let's say we're playing an E7 again, you could play the E double diminished scale, which is an E diminished 7 chord and an F diminished 7 chord stacked. That's right, half whole. And so what's cool about it is, and what's different about it than the altered scale is, it's an 8-note scale as opposed to the altered being a 7-note scale. And instead of the flat 5, you now have a natural 5 and you have a natural 6. So you have 1, flat 9, sharp 9, flat 5, 5, or you can call it sharp 4, 5, 6, flat 7. And you can get some really cool stuff. And there's a couple of lessons I did as shorts that show how I do it over the over the 5. I think I showed both those, the double diminished and the altered, how to approach it. But you know, obviously the main thing is you know, playing in time is important. And but yeah, and I don't trip over music theory. Like, I don't really think about it so much. I usually get surprised when I'm playing with somebody and I'll say to them about a chord, hey, Jan, have a great night, man. And I'll be surprised that they don't know what that chord is, or it surprises me because I've been out of that darkness from almost the beginning, because it was something that once I figured out that I could figure out songs and hear them by ear, well, then I wanted to know the theory behind a lot of this stuff. And I will say the best dive to get into music is to either teach it yourself, do a deep dive, see what makes sense, or learn from somebody else who did that deep dive like me and teach it to you without all the nonsense that you don't need. you know. And there are things that you'll never learn on your own until you just get to a certain level. Like things like if somebody's like playing over a major 7 chord, if someone's playing a major 7, it's probably best not to hit the natural 4 or the natural 11 and hit it sharp. So that means if you're playing a C major 7 and you were to solo over it, and remember I'm always talking in minors, instead of playing an A minor, I would play E minor. I want that F sharp. I want that F sharp over that C major 7, not an F natural. And the reason has to do with a guy who wrote a book in the 50s, George Russell, called like, don't quote me on the name, it's like the Lydian chromatic theory, Lydian dominant chromatic theory. I forget the name of the book, but it's basically about musical gravity and what tensions work better against certain things. And the F is dissonant, even if you do it more than once. I say that. Yeah, like I said, a great exercise is, and you can try this, is to go on YouTube, pull up a C major 7 backing track of just one chord, and solo an A minor, and then solo an E minor, and tell me which one you think sounds better. And you're going to say the E minor because when you hit that F natural in the A minor scale or the C major scale, it's ugly against that chord. The F sharp is interesting against the chord. It's beautiful. It's a great tension, but it's not out. It's not like you're like, really? In fact, you could just pull up a C major 7 backing track, play an F, and then play an F sharp on the guitar against it, like as in a lead, and you can hear right away that the F sharp sits nice and the F sounds dissonant and not good. A 4th or 5th over an 11? You lost me. I said over a major 7 chord, I wouldn't play a 4 or an 11. I would play a sharp 4 or a sharp 11. It just depends on how you think of it when you're playing. For me, if someone's playing a C major 7 chord and I play an F sharp, I'm calling that a sharp 11, not a sharp 4. Oh yeah, no, it's beautiful. It sounds great. But I'm calling it a sharp 11 because the 3 is already in the chord. So you wouldn't call a 2 and a 4, you don't call in the chord if the chord already has a 3. If there's no 3, then you can. You would call it like a sus2 or a sus4. But if it's just if the chord is C, E, G, B, which is a C major 7 chord, and you're putting an F sharp, you wouldn't say that's a sharp 4. You would say it's a sharp 11. At least I would. People can call it a sharp 4. I just think it's wrong. And most people I know would just refer to it as an 11. And if you play a D over that, it would be a C major 9. You wouldn't call it a C major 7 with a 2, or it's a C major 9. So that's why. It has the 3, the 2 and the 4 go up an octave. In the name only. It doesn't matter where you play it on the board. It doesn't matter. That's why I say when you take a chord, like if you took like an A7 chord and you play altered over it, the scale is A, B flat, 1, flat 9, sharp 9. You don't say it's 1, flat 2, sharp 2. Although you could, but you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you? Because the chord you're playing against already has the 3 in it. So you would think of that as a 9. You're playing over a 7, so tonally over the 7, you have the 1, the flat 9, the sharp 9. You have the flat 5, which you can call a sharp 4. You have the sharp 5. You have the flat 7. And then it's just a matter of practicing, going up and down the guitar and getting used to what those relationships are and how they sound. That's more important than anything. Because once you understand, okay, this is, you're playing an A, there's an A7 chord, and you play the F sharp, which would be the 13, you know what that sound is. Once you know that sound and you recognize it as a 13, you'll always recognize the 13. And you'll always recognize the 9. You'll recognize the flat 9. It becomes recognizable. And once you can recognize everything, well, you're speaking a language. So it's like, I always tell people music's a language, and they understand that as a cute saying. But I'm not saying it to be cute. I'm saying it because, and I'll explain this to you. If you were to go play basketball on Venice Beach with the guys that play on Venice Beach, these guys mostly come from Watts, they come from Compton, they come in, they play basketball down there, and they're great. I mean, there's some great players down there. So if you start playing with them, you'll start to pick up phrases and terms they use where you would eventually start using them yourself in the game because you're picking up on the language that these guys speak. And so that's a language. It's an idiomatic language. You know what I'm saying? You would understand, before "my bad" became like a very popular saying, you would hear that and you'd be like, what? My bad? What the hell? So eventually you start to pick up on that language. Then you start to speak it. Now, if you're not exposed to it, yes, you have to recognize it. But if you're not exposed to that language and you hear it or you're trying to learn it, you're going to learn it a lot slower, and it's going to be more difficult because you're not subjecting yourself to it. And I say that because, if you want to learn to get a little bit of jazz vocabulary and you're playing, now maybe you don't, and that's fine, you don't have to, nobody said, but if you wanted to, and I'm just using it as an example, if you wanted to get jazz into your vocabulary, you would have to listen to some jazz because you've got to hear the language being spoken before you start to understand what the hell you're wanting to hear. So there's a little short I did, and it was like, here's a bit that I stole from a horn player. Yeah, I heard it over and over, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck is this guy doing? It's a monster lick. And so I learned it. But I had heard it so often that I could get my fingers under it because I understood it. I understood what it was saying. And so in that respect, it's a language. You want to be able to speak. And so like if it's, you hear like if you hear like a country guy play, and these country guys like Steve Wariner, who play with a thumb pick, these guys are doing a lot of banjo rolls while they're playing. And you don't really know, when you hear it, you're like, what? Your head wants to explode. You're like, what the hell is this guy doing? You just have no idea. And to be honest, it's really hard to get under your fingers. And it wasn't until I was sitting down with this guy playing guitar and he did a lick on me. He started doing this one thing, and I said, you gotta stop. And you have to show me how you did that. Because I hear it all the time. So I knew the sound. I didn't know how to get it. Because when you hear it, it just sounds like, let's take like a banjo roll playing down a G major scale. It just sounds like a G major scale, but it sounds different and clean. And yet there's open notes ringing, and I'm like, what? And he showed me how to do it. And I worked on it for months. And then I saw him again, and we were jamming, and I pulled it out on him over an E minor. He showed me how to play the G major roll. And I always thought it sounded great over E minor. So we played this song, and he started playing an E minor, and I did the roll, and he goes, wait a minute. You play it that good now? And I was like, I got it under my fingers. But it took me forever. Yeah, older R&B for sure. Oh yeah, especially like neo soul. I tell you right now, you want to get a great song under your fingers. I did a song on YouTube called Till the Cops Come Knocking by Maxwell. That is a jazz song. It's an R&B song, but play those chords. They're beautiful chords. Starts off on that A flat major 7. It's great. It's absolutely great. And, well, not the song doesn't start on that, but the verses do. But it's, oh, the chorus. It's beautiful. Sorry, the chorus, the verse starts on a C minor 9. But it's a beautiful song. And once you start to understand those chords and those changes, back in the old soul days, they loved playing the 11 chord, the 4 over the 5. It's beautiful. And it's everywhere in the 70s. And when we play those 70s songs, people come up to me and they're like, man, you guys make it sound just like the record. I'm like, well, we're playing the chords that most people will just ignore and play it as a major triad, which it's not. It's not. You can find that chord at the opening of Baby Come Back. It's in the beginning of She's Gone. It's a great chord, and it's used in a ton of old R&B. But yeah, I mean, like I say, learning old R&B, the best way to learn it is to listen to it. I tell people all the time, if you're like my percussionist was struggling with a song, and I said, listen, just play it in your car 4 or 5 times, you'll get it. And he's like, because he was like, I was practicing it at home and I just couldn't. And he did. Once you get it in your head and you understand it, then you can play it. It's like I said, it's like a language. You know what I mean? When people go to school, they learn, you learn a second language, and you're learning Je m'appelle, you learn French, or you're learning Spanish. And if you go into one of those speaking countries, you sound like an idiot. And so if you're there for a week, you may pick up a lot of stuff. If you're there for a year, you'll probably start speaking fluent and realize that the time you spent in school was wasted. Because, or set a basic foundation that, maybe helped you a little bit. But really what helps you is getting yourself in that, submerging yourself in it and speaking the language with people who speak. And that's like the best thing I can tell you why I keep telling people music is a language. It's a language that you need to get you, like if you want to learn how to play heavy metal, you would listen to heavy metal. You would pick up on those riffs and those musical ideas. If you wanted to learn how to play country, you'd be listening to a lot of the country players. You have to get it. You have to get yourself submerged in it. And then you'll speak it. This is a Crown's Head, Los Cavaleros. I popped on yesterday, Joe. I think I played an hour by myself. I got 3 Royales and Blitz, and I came in second twice. I came in third, and then I came in like almost dead last in one game. I landed in a super hot spot. Everyone was fighting, and I just got in the middle and was just trying to take out as many as I could. I got 4 people killed, and then I got killed myself. I got 2 people coming in from the sides. They were fighting each other, and I ran into the middle of them, and I was like, ugh. But yeah, I don't love the Star Wars weapons in Blitz, but it was fun. I played for like an hour. I had a blast. I had a blaster. But yeah, so anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on music theory. And like I say, and the modes, to me, muddy it up. Now, I want to do Sunday. Sunday or tomorrow. Friday I have my gig, Saturday I have my gig. Tomorrow or Sunday I'm around. All right, yeah, we'll do it. Okay, yeah, we can do tomorrow. Yeah, Randy Bach. I love Randy Bachman. I think he was great. You know, the one argument that people will make will be like, do you think Paul McCartney knew this stuff? Or do you think Angus Young? Well, Angus knows what he knows. He doesn't have to, but he's also a great field player. And he was lucky. He was young. His band got signed. He got picked up and he wrote great riffs and great songs. And so he doesn't have to do anything else. And whether he has want or need to play any further, that would be up to him. But, you know, he's awesome at what he does. The only people who join are kids that played with. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow, Joe, for sure. And so you don't have to learn everything to enjoy yourself. I'm just saying, one thing you definitely don't need to learn is modes. And the other thing with modes is once you understand music the way I understand it, then the modes are so simple and dumb to talk about. You're like, what do I need to, you'll know the modes because it's easy. Like I said before, like I told you now, there are three major scales. There's the natural major scale, there's the sharp 4, and the flat 7. Those are three modes: Ionian, Lydian, Mixolydian. But you don't need to know the fucking names. The names are irrelevant. Eventually, as you play them and you get them under your fingers and you know the sound, you can be like, okay, that's the Mixolydian, it's the flat 7. It just becomes easy, and then you don't have to, it's not about memorizing it. Yeah, that's George Young and Henry Vanda, who basically had them and produced them from the Easy Beats. Yeah, Monday. Yeah, they were great. They also produced the Angels, which I love the Angels, and there's a great album called Dark Room from 1980 by the Angels, where Great White did a cover of Face the Day, but I prefer the Angels version of Face the Day. I love the Angels. When they came to the States, they had to be called Angel City, which they always hated the name of that band. I always just call them the Angels because that's what they are. Because that's the name of the band. But anyways, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, so, and also with the minors, when you start figuring out the Dory and the three, it's all becomes, hey, have a great night, man. Thanks for hanging. I'm almost done here too, anyways. It's getting late. But the point I'm making is eventually you'll know them all, and it's not by memorization anymore. People try to do it from the memorization, but then they don't get it. And then it's all about memory. And I can always tell because you can just see when someone starts talking modes and they start looking up in the air and going, oh yeah, I remember that one is the, it's like, no, come on. Don't talk about modes then. If you got to think about it, it's not worth it. It's like if we speak idiomatically, right? And I say like, if someone says, oh, that's a dangling part of what? Well, I'm just correcting your English because you shouldn't. It's like, I'm just speaking. I'm not in a fucking formal setting here. I'm just speaking. And so that's how I think of music mainly, is we speak idiomatically and we, now if you want to play, even the classical musicians, they don't ever do the modes because they look at a piece of music and they're not creating music. They're just playing what's on the page. And what's on the page is dictated by a key signature. And so if the song is in the key of D and they're playing around an A major chord and it's based around A major, but the sheet music says the key of D, all they're thinking in their mind is F and C or sharp. They're not thinking, oh, I'm in the fifth mode of I'm in A Mixolydian. They're not thinking like that at all. They could give two shits that that's a mode. They just see the key and they know F and C is sharp. When they see an F and C, if nothing else is written in the body, those are sharp. So it's irrelevant to them. And I talked to a teacher at Berkeley, and he was telling me he thinks it opens up so many more avenues that if you're playing over like C and you run a scale up starting on D, or you run a scale starting up on E, or you run a scale starting up on F, by knowing the mode, it gives you so much more freedom. And I'm like, or I could just start on any note and it doesn't fucking matter. I could start on the D, start on the E, I'm still playing in the key of C, and I don't give a shit. To which he did not appreciate. All right, what else? Anybody want to talk about something else? I got probably another 10 minutes here with the cigar, and I'm looking at 4 people. I'm dropping people here like flies. I figure my anti-modal talk has disgusted the few. Or people are falling asleep from boredom. I don't know if you guys heard Joe, but if you go on Twitch tomorrow night, on Joe's Twitch, I'll be live with him playing Blitz on Fortnite. I haven't played with Joe on Fortnite. Honestly, I think it's been over 2 months. I hadn't played for the longest time. I usually will only play if I'm like just trying to pass some time by. So last night I was like if I'm doing laundry or something like that, I'll go play for an hour while the machine's going. But last night I went and played for like, I think from like 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock I went on and played, which I hadn't been on in months. In months. What else? What else you got? Anybody, anything? If anybody's on TikTok, I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. Because I post all the same stuff on those things. Just trying to get my following on the other stuff up to par with my YouTube channel. Yeah, I hate Twitch. I absolutely hate it. I have a channel on Twitch. I never use it. I just do not like Twitch. But Joe uses it. Joe might be live on both. He might be live on his YouTube also. I just don't know. I know he's on Twitch. I'm looking around like an idiot. Like, where's my phone? It's I'm using it. A couple of weeks ago, I'm steering, my car is like right here, and my headlight on this side is like hanging by a thread. Somebody had hit me in a parking lot. I didn't see it, but I came out and I could see my light hanging, and I'm like, motherfucker. So I have to get my car inspected this month. So I went to my shop and I said, do I got to go to a body shop, or can you guys fix this? So he looked at it. He's like, yeah, I got to order you a light assembly, and he'll fix it on sometime early next week before I get inspected. But then I called him back and I was like, hey, listen, order me the brightest effing headlights you can. Because right now I have like regular headlights. But when I drive back from Plymouth, Mass, it's on Route 3. And it is so, if it's raining, I'm telling you right now, I am like squinting, looking for the line in the street to make sure I'm not driving off into the fucking woods. It is ridiculously dark. And these headlights I got in this thing don't do shit. I'm like, I want the brightest headlights. I want people to fucking be honking at me every time I drive down the street. I want two 500-watt Klieg lights. So I'm psyched for that they're gonna put the modern bright lights in this fucking thing. And it's not that old of a car. It's just that these lights are like, they're like old school. I just hate them. But I can't wait to get this thing fixed, this motherfucker that hit me. Doesn't leave a note. Makes me pissed at all the notes I've left in my life. Anyways, that's what I did today, besides teaching. That I went to the gym. Today was leg day. I did legs. There's two different kinds of calf machines at my gym. Every time I do legs, this one guy is sitting there on the calf machine all fucking day. I'm like, dude, seriously. Like, you're gonna do like 20 sets of calves? Get the hell out of there and let me on the thing. It's driving me nuts. I want to say something too so bad, but he's handicapped, and I'm like, well, maybe it's for physical therapy because he walks with two canes. But I'm just like, man, seriously, like, and it's every time. Now I've learned my lesson today because now I'm like, all right, because I want to do it at the end of my workout, and I'm like, and that's right when he gets there, and I'm like, you know what, I got to do it first. I got to jump on it before he gets there. I'm on it for 5 minutes. This guy's on there all day. But c'est la vie. So next week I got to take my car in to get the headlight fixed, and then at the same time I'm going to get my car inspected. I don't understand here in Massachusetts. You get your car inspected every year. Your registration's every 2 years. Can't I just pay double and have the inspection good for 2 years? What is this for every year? Like, what do you think's going to change in 1 year? If my registration's good for 2 years, make my friggin' expiration on my inspection 2 years. Annoying. And here Massachusetts, you got to get an ugly sticker on your car, and everything's done by a sticker. When I was in California, when you get your car registered, you get the inspection, and if you got the registration, it means you have a passed inspection. So to be registered, you have to be inspected. That makes more sense. So you don't have to have a sticker on your car. If your car's registered, you've been inspected. I'm not getting new headlights. I'm getting new lamps put in, the new bulbs, the stronger bulbs. Yeah, whatever the bulbs cost, I'll pay them. I don't care. I can't be driving around. It's not about where they're pointed, Johnny. It's about when you put them on. Do you see these new cars when they're driving down and they got the white headlights and they come pull you next to you on the highway and it's like, motherfucker, you just helped me see. I can't even see. Of course, in California, you're paying, the tax alone is ridiculous. Here, it's like gas is $3 and change. But California, the gas price is the gas price because of your ridiculous politics in that state. And then they try to blame it on Trump. It's like, dude, your gas has been retarded for a long time. Don't start blaming. You know what I mean? It's like, you get guys who have been in California, in California politics for 50 years, they're going to blame Trump's been there 2 years. Okay, yeah, it's him. He's the problem. Bullshit. When gas is $2 everywhere else, it's $5 in California. $4.50. Ridiculous. Sorry, Johnny, I missed what you said. I was ranting. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. Like I said, when a new car pulls up with me with the super bright white, not, and sometimes like it'll be a car just like mine or just a regular headlights, and I look and I'm like, yeah, we both have the same headlights. It's the same. But then sometimes people pull up next to me and it's like, boom, this guy's like, it's like I'm at the gun range at night outside up at Oak, what's that called? Oak Tree Gun Club there up in Newhall, in Newhall, California. They have those outdoor lights. You know, everything's bright. It looks like daytime. Somebody pulled up next to me. It's like daytime in front of me. I'm like, great. Then he fucking drives past me and I'm like, great. Now I'm driving like this again because I can't see a fucking thing. And depending on how bad it is, like I have yellow glasses, the yellow tinted, and that helps when you're driving because it takes a lot of the blue light out, and so you can see the roads much clearer, especially when it rains. I wear my driving glasses. But for the most part, I'm just like irritated to no end. And that'll all end next week, which will be great. And I'm psyched. But my car's right here, and the fucking light is staring me in the kisser. Pow, right in the kisser. I'll show you what I mean. See the light? See how it's hanging in there? That's what I got to deal with. I think it was at a Walmart too. I can't remember. It was a couple of weeks back. But I come out and I'm like, I think it was at the Walmart in Avon. All because I love their pork rinds. The baconettes. Oh, they're great. That's the best brand of pork rinds out there, folks. Baconettes. I eat a bag with like a stick of melted butter. It's awesome. I have the garage door shut because I thought it was getting too cold, but it's hot in here. It feels like it's like 75 in here. I thought it would have been cooler. I should have opened that door. But now it's too late. I'm already done. All right, everybody, we hit the 2-hour mark. That's long enough for me. I'm going to go to bed. And again, if you go to Joe's channel tomorrow night, I'll be playing with him for a bit. You'll be watching Joe play, but you'll at least be able to hear me because, I'll be on his team. It's a super fun game. Again, I just don't play it enough. I don't play a lot, but we have a lot of laughs. And we talk music, and Joe will sometimes pull up a list, and we'll go over lists like we did in the old show. Because Joe will be like, here's songs, do you know these? It's pretty fun. All right, everyone, I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me today and putting up with me on my channel. Appreciate you. And as always, very good.